All right, so let's talk about something that tickles the old noodle, something that keeps people up at night, staring at grainy photographs and wondering, what if? I'm talking about time travelers. Not the DeLorean driving, flux capacitor having kind necessarily, but those weird, out-of-place individuals who supposedly pop up in history where they just don't belong. You see a picture from the 1940s, and there's a dude who looks like he just walked out of a Starbucks, or you hear a story about someone knowing things they couldn't possibly know. It's a real head-scratcher, folks. Now, the debate around these alleged chrononauts is as old as, well, probably the first time someone showed up to a toga party in a powdered wig. Is it a case of mistaken identity where we're just seeing what we want to see? Are these elaborate hoaxes cooked up for a bit of fun, or dare I say notoriety? Or, and this is the spooky part, could some of these actually be the real deal glimpses of a hidden truth that time isn't as linear as our boring everyday experience suggests? It's a rabbit hole, and frankly I'm ready to jump in with both feet, possibly flailing a bit on the way down, so buckle up, because today we're diving deep into some of the most mysterious, most debated, and frankly, most entertaining cases of alleged time travelers in history. We're going to look at the evidence, or lack thereof, and try to figure out if these are just tall tales, or if there's something more to them. From guys in old-timey clothes appearing in modern cities to folks predicting the future with uncanny accuracy, it's going to be a wild ride. Let's get into it. All right, first up, we've got a story that feels like it's straight out of a Twilight Zone episode. Picture this, it's June 1950, Times Square, New York City. Bustling, noisy, full of mid-century hustle. Suddenly, out of thin air, or so the story goes, a man appears. And this isn't your average 1950s Joe. No, this fella is dressed to the nines in 19th century attire. We're talking a frock coat, a tall hat, the whole shebang. People are understandably confused. He looks disoriented, scared even. And then tragedy strikes. Before anyone can really figure out what's going on, he's struck by a taxi and killed. A rough start to your alleged time jaunt, if that's what it was. Now, when the police go through his pockets, things get even weirder. They find stuff that just doesn't belong in 1950. We're talking about a copper token for a 5-cent beer, valid at a saloon nobody's ever heard of. Bills of exchange from the 1870s, business cards with his name, Rudolph Fentz, and an address on Fifth Avenue. And perhaps, most tellingly, a letter addressed to him, postmarked June 1876. The clothes, the items, they all scream, I'm from the past. It's like he literally walked out of the 1870s and into the path of a cab. The coroner even noted his clothes were old-fashioned but in excellent unworn condition. So the police, led by a Captain Hubert Rhyme of the Missing Persons Squad, tried to track this guy down. They looked for records of a Rudolph Fentz. The address on Fifth Avenue? It was a business and no one there had heard of him. They checked fingerprints, no match. They looked for missing persons reports from the 1870s, a bit of a long shot, but hey, due diligence. The legend says they eventually found a listing for a Rudolph Fentz Jr., who disappeared in 1876 at the age of 29. Did our mystery man jump nearly 75 years into the future? Or is this whole story, as some researchers later suggested, a piece of fiction originating from a short story? The lines, as they often do in these cases, are decidedly blurry. All right, let's fast forward, or I guess in this context, just move to a different kind of weird. We're heading to the dawn of the new millennium, the year 2000. The internet is still kind of the Wild West, full of chat rooms and forums where anything goes. And into this digital landscape steps a figure calling himself John Titor. Now, John wasn't just your average forum lurker. Oh no, he claimed to be an American soldier from the year 2036, sent back on a mission. His story starts unfolding on various online message boards, and people, understandably, are intrigued. His supposed mission, to travel back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer. Why this specific, rather ancient piece of tech? Well, according to Titor, this old beige box had a unique feature that could help debug a massive computer problem plaguing his future, a sort of Y2K bug on steroids, apparently set to cause major issues around 2038. He said he was just making a pit stop in the year 2000 for personal reasons, checking in on family, that sort of thing. And while he was here, he decided to share a few tidbits about what the future allegedly held, including a devastating civil war in the US starting around 2004 to 2005, followed by a brief World War III. Titor didn't just talk, he provided evidence. He posted grainy photos of his supposed time machine, a device he claimed was installed in a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette, later a 1987 model, a bit of a continuity snag there. He shared schematics, talked about the physics of time travel involving Tipler cylinders and microsingularities. Then, in March 2001, as suddenly as he appeared, he announced his mission was complete and he was returning to 2036. He vanished from the internet, leaving behind a legacy of fervent believers, equally fervent skeptics, and a whole lot of unfulfilled prophecies. Was he a genuine chrononaut, a very elaborate prankster, or perhaps a writer, testing out a sci-fi concept? The debate still rages in dusty corners of the web. Now let's jump to March 2003. The stock market is doing its usual volatile dance. Fortunes are being made and lost. But then the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, notices something unusual. A guy named Andrew Carlson starts with a modest investment of $800 and in just 2 weeks parlays it into a staggering $350 million. He makes 126 incredibly high-risk trades and nails every single one. That's not just lucky, that's suspicious. So the feds swoop in, slap the cuffs on him, and start asking some very pointed questions about insider trading. Carlson's explanation for his Midas touch, well, it wasn't insider tips from a buddy at Goldman Sachs. According to him, he was a time traveler from the year 2256. He claimed he knew exactly how the stocks would perform because, well, he'd already seen it happen. He supposedly told investigators that the temptation to make a quick buck in a turbulent past market was just too strong to resist. He even offered to spill the beans on major future events, like the location of Osama bin Laden or the cure for AIDS, in exchange for his freedom and a trip back to his presumably much shinier future. Here's where the story gets, shall we say, a bit flimsy. The initial reports seemed to come from satirical or less than reputable news sources like the Weekly World News, the paper that brought us Bat Boy. The SEC and FBI later stated they had no record of arresting anyone named Andrew Carlson for these alleged temporal stock shenanigans. Some versions of the tale say a mysterious benefactor paid his $1 million bail and Carlson then vanished without a trace. Did he slip back to 2256? Or did he never really exist in the first place? A phantom conjured by a slow news day and an active imagination? It's a fantastic story. But the evidence for it being real is frankly thinner than my patience for dial-up internet. Alright, this next one is a visual and it's a classic. We're talking about a photograph that's made the rounds on the internet more times than a cat video. The setting is the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Goldbridge, British Columbia, Canada, way back in 1941. The photo shows a crowd of people, mostly men in hats, ladies in period dresses, all looking very 1940s. And then, smack dab in the middle of them, is one guy. This dude sticks out like a sore thumb. Or perhaps more accurately, like a guy who just stumbled out of a time portal after a particularly rough landing. He's often dubbed the time-traveling hipster, and when you look at him, you can see why. He's wearing what appear to be very modern-looking wraparound sunglasses, a t-shirt with a printed logo, some say it's an M, maybe for a sports team, or perhaps a band from the future we haven't heard of yet, and a casual unbuttoned cardigan or jacket over it. He's also holding something that looks suspiciously like a modern portable camera. Compared to the fedoras and prim outfits around him, he just screams out of place. He looks like he's about to ask where the nearest artisanal coffee shop is. Now, the debunkers have had a field day with this one, and to be fair, they make some decent points. Those types of sunglasses, while not common, did exist in the 1940s. The printed t-shirt could very well be a knitted sweater with a sewn-on emblem, like a college Letterman sweater. And the camera, well, portable cameras existed, and some early models, like certain Kodak folding cameras, could bear a passing resemblance from a particular angle, especially in a slightly blurry old photo. But even with these explanations, there's an undeniable vibe to him. He just doesn't feel like he belongs. Is it definitive proof of time travel? Probably not. Is it a fun photo to overanalyze and spark a debate? Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears to something a bit more modern, or at least a bit closer to our own time, but still perplexing. We're at a boxing match, Las Vegas, August 19th, 1995. It's Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeely. a pretty big deal. The arena is packed, the cameras are rolling, capturing Iron Mike's comeback fight. As the footage pans across the excited crowd, eagle-eyed viewers years later spotted something odd. For a fleeting moment, a spectator in the ringside seats appears to be holding up a device that looks remarkably like a smartphone, seemingly recording the action. Now remember, this is 1995. The first iPhone was still 12 years away, sure. There were PDAs and some very clunky smart devices, but nothing that looked quite like what this person seems to be holding. It's got that rectangular shape, the way they're holding it up, pointing the lens towards the ring. It's all very reminiscent of how people film events on their smartphones today. The footage went viral, naturally, with captions screaming "Time Traveler Caught at Tyson Fight." It's one of those blink and you'll miss it moments, but once you see it, it's hard to unsee. So, what are we looking at here? Skeptics, those tireless party poopers, suggest it could be any number of contemporary devices. Perhaps an early digital camera like a Casio QV100 or a Logitech Photoman, which were around then and had a somewhat similar form factor if you squint. Or maybe it's a fancy camcorder held in a peculiar way. The footage isn't exactly high definition, so it's tough to get a clear look. But the way the light seems to reflect off a potential screen and the general posture of the person, it's undeniably intriguing. Did someone from the 2010s really want to get good seats for Tyson's return and forgot their temporal etiquette? Or is it just another case of pareidolia, our brains seeing familiar patterns in ambiguous stimuli? You be the judge. All right, we've journeyed through some pretty wild tales today. From a man in Victorian garb meeting an untimely end in 1950s New York, to an internet prophet from the future, a stock market savant with impossible luck, a surprisingly modern-looking dude at a 1940s bridge opening, and even a potential smartphone user at a 90s boxing match. Each story is a little pocket of weirdness, a little what if, that tickles the imagination. It makes you wonder if there's more to the flow of time than we currently comprehend. So, what do you think? Are these cases genuine, bona fide proof that time travel is not just possible, but has actually happened? Are we looking at intrepid adventurers from the future, or perhaps unwilling passengers on a one-way trip through the fourth dimension? Or, on the other hand, are these clever hoaxes meticulously crafted to fool and entertain? Maybe they're just a series of bizarre coincidences, misinterpretations, and our own human desire to find patterns and meaning where there might be none. It's a tough call, and frankly, the jury's still out for me on most of these. But that's the fun of it, right? The mystery. I want to know what you all think. Which of these cases do you find the most compelling or the most easily debunked? Do you have any other favorite time traveler stories? Let me know your theories, your skepticism, your wild speculations down in the comments below. Did Rudolph Fentz really take a wrong turn at Albuquerque in 1876? Was John Titor just a bored programmer? Let's discuss. And hey, if you happen to be a time traveler yourself, feel free to drop some stock tips. Kidding, mostly.